Well, we're back again for part 3 of our load-bearing wall removal project video series. Lots been discovered, good stuff. Gonna make life all the less worrisome. But we showed you before, I think there was 3 jacks that came down off of the rafter system here. One there, one there, one there. All 3 of these jacks land on a wall that we are not removing, so there's no load-bearing issues there. They'll remain in place where they've been all along. You can see now where the load-bearing wall is, and that wall is basically only bearing the weight of the joint in these ceiling joists. So basically it's just a ceiling joist weight-bearing issue, and that's really minor as far as loads go, which means that our beam is way bigger than we need it to be. So no big deal. Cost me $75 to build the beam, a little bigger, not gonna hurt anything. However, originally I was considering going 16 feet with that beam, going basically from, you can see that white area there, that's the bottom of the pitch of the ceiling, coming all the way down this direction. And I was going to come all the way across to, right back here. Forgive me, the dust in this hat's a killer. To right back here. And what that would allow me to do, I'll show you in a minute, would be to open up the hallway walk space. And I think it would look nicer. It's just an aesthetic issue. But that's going to be quite a chore to do it. Not saying we're not yet going to do it, but it's going to be quite a chore. We'll have to re-support this temporarily. Not a big deal. This particular jack coming down here may or may not be a problem. Probably would have to be relocated again. It's all temporary because we've got something to go on to once the beam's in place, but it's still not trivial. I mean, the main purpose here is to open up this wall in the bedroom, and that's a pretty easy get at this point. And we could even cut that beam down a few feet and make it easier to handle, easier to get up in there. Why not? But then again, the opportunity exists to make a little bit of an aesthetic improvement in the hallway, or what I consider to be an aesthetic improvement in the hallway. But it's just probably not worth it at this point. So I think at this point we're going to come right on along. Now, a couple things we'll look at downstairs that have to do with these rafter jacks here, and then we'll move on. So we're back in the hallway. Here's the area I was talking about. You know, this is a, I don't know, lengthy hall. Let's see. Goes past the restroom on this side to the master there. Goes around the corner to another bedroom. And from an aesthetic perspective, I would kind of like to see this pass opened up fully, you know, just to make it a bit straighter line. It just would seem more pleasing to me. But it might come at a high cost, and not maybe financially, but effort-wise, and I don't have a whale of a lot of help. So I think the way it goes right now is I'm just going to leave this as was and hope that that's good enough for now. It's going to have to be good enough for now, I think. So that's that. Let's go look in the bedroom. Okay, so we're back in the master bedroom. Here's one of those 2 jacks that comes down to this long wall. There's one back behind the insulation there. Didn't bother to open it up, but it sits on this long wall. This is the door that's coming out. It'll be framed up. No compromise there. And then the last, let me weave my way through here, sorry. Then the last rafter jack. Last rafter jack sits right up there. Now, the nicest thing about that rafter jack is this. It sits right on this corner. So when this closet over here, that's the closet we looked at previously, when that closet goes away, that rafter jack will still be sitting on the corner of this wall. So that pretty much, I think, helps unload any weight carrying issues with this wall. We'll look at it again to make sure, but there's nothing terribly obvious now about weight bearing for this wall. We'll still have to examine another wall in that closet to make sure, but that's kind of convenient. By the way, all this sheetrock is going away. We're going with all new recessed lighting and speakers and new AC. We're going to move the AC around, so a lot of patchwork to do. I just decided to go ahead and re-rock the whole ceiling. It's not that much more than the effort required to do it the way we were going to do it. So here is, look, here's the, forgive all the insulation. I pulled the insulation down so that we can access where we have to cut these ceiling joists. But here is the temporary wall, runs along here. That temporary wall is holding up all of these ceiling joists. And then this wall, it was pre-existing. This is part of the closet structures that were there before. And also, there's not much distance because I put this wall in as part of the closet construction. There's not much distance here anyway, so I'm not too worried about sag on those. When we cut them, I will watch it, you can be sure. So, this is the walls coming out. You can see our ceiling joists meet on top up there. So what we're going to have to do is cut a 4.5 inch gap in between those joists, and that's where our beam will ride. The one, I guess, I won't say challenging, interesting thing about this project is when I got up in here and looked at the rafter placement. The rafter sits basically at dead center of the current load-bearing wall, or whatever you want to call this wall. I still call it load-bearing wall. So to put that beam directly in place of the load-bearing top plate there would require some pretty interesting carving work in the end of that beam that I don't want to do. Also would reduce its strength. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the, get around here, I'm going to put the beam actually on this side of that rafter, which would be good. I can secure the rafter to it, help hold everything together. And then I'm just going to run the beam off center of this current load bearing wall. The reason I can do that is I have enough overhang, or enough overhang between the ceiling joists to still be able to get ceiling joists secured to both sides of that beam. So, good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and cut the beam down to something over 12 feet. It's going to be probably 12 foot, 12.8 or so, to go from the outer edge of this plate to the outer edge of that upper plate up there. We're going to cut the gaps in here first. Look, I used 23/32 plywood, which means that 6 laminates is 4 and 5/16 inches in total thickness. So we're going to go ahead and cut a 4.5 inch gap. And be snug maybe, depending on how straight I can make it, but that's okay. We'll get it up in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is fully tear down this load-bearing wall, this wall, so that I can begin to access things. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a string line down here at the rafter, find an equivalent point on the other end, and I'm just going to snap a string line on the bottom of all these joists, and then start chopping away and get them all cut out of there. And then after that, got to shape the end of the beam to fit up into this space here by the descending rafter. Shape it up to match, and then make sure we've got a good sound perch on both ends. Once I take off this face 2x4, these face 2x4s, got to get back into this wall and make sure that we've got good solid carrying capacity. Again, not much load as it turns out, not much of a big deal. So this project got easier, but keep moving forward. We'll keep documenting it, good or bad, right or wrong, and that's that. So get back to you again next time.